by Belquist, and he does an inverted twist. Is he in? He is. Touchdown, Bo Belquist, and that could be George Taggart. Simon Rumfo has it. Simon inside the 5. Sis boom ball. Simon Rumfo, his second touchdown today.
UND Football 360.
Isaiah trying to get outside, a stiff arm, shuts him down, 20, inside the 15, down to the 13-yard line. Oh, that right arm, that stiff arm, and the book of Isaiah has given North Dakota a first down.
Analysis, commentary, news, and a look ahead. It's all things UND football. This is the UND Football 360 podcast with your hosts Kelly Howe, Matt Nelson, and Dave McNamara.
Some may have been a little worried about this past week's game, but UND took care of business after a disappointing loss to Northern Iowa last year after a big win against North Dakota State. They rebounded well at the Alara Center on Saturday, and fellas, we were just talking. It wasn't a sexy game, but they did what they had to do, right?
That's what we wanted. We wanted to, none of us were worried about them coming out ready to play, especially off a bye week. NDSU hangover is different when you're on the road, playing NDSU. So, yeah, we weren't real worried about that. But the way the game went about, Matt, pretty much, steady, solid effort, no real gaffes. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, methodical comes to mind when I watched that game. It was just very methodical. We did what we had to do to win the football game. Nothing sexy about it, but it was a good win for us to get some confidence back. And then we have a tough road stretch, even though, our opponents are down a little bit. I think we did what we needed to do to give us that little bump going into a couple week road trip.
11,000 in the seats. Yeah. That's a victory right there this time of year.
I was surprised about it. Yep. To be honest, I was way to go, fans.
Yeah,
I mean, that's awesome. And to get 11,000 people at this point in the season after
a clap. I don't clap often.
Yeah.
Hey,
slow clap.
11-6 at this time of the year, though. I don't think that's big.
After losing to the Bison.
Yeah.
Right. So, in years past, after we lose to the Bison, let's call a spade here. Our fans kind of trickle off a little bit after that, but this didn't phase us at all. We still packed the Steelers. So
you had a lot going on Saturday. North Dakota playoffs started 9-man Saturday afternoon. I know we're recording here on a Wednesday. Last night, Minnesota. Yep. That first round, they need to get the 1 and the 8s shouldn't play each other in section play. Some of those scores get a little ridiculous, but hard to believe we're at playoff football time already for high school.
Yeah, it was last night. East Grand Forks played Thief River Falls, who they got shut out a couple weeks ago by them. Just the oddest game ever, and shouldn't have got shut out, but beat them. East Grand Forks comes back, beats them 32-0 in the first round of the playoffs. So they'll be moving on to Fergus Falls, obviously the local.
How much input do you get in the East Grand play calling every week?
Yeah, I'd get it if I wanted it, but no, Ryan does a good job over there. Their program, I mean, he's done a lot for that program. You should see their locker room. Ooh, their locker room, beautiful. They took a building. I don't know if you guys know this. The building right outside. Envision a high school shed. Build shop.
Yeah.
Shop. Okay. Well, we're not using it or whatever. He kind of eyes it. What do you think? Could we go in there? It would get them out of the main locker room too. So it'd free up locker room space. It planted a seed. Well, then I think the principal or whatever came back, administration said, hey, you can have it. It's yours. All we were doing, we'd have to clean it out or whatever. You would, I don't know if they had to help, but he's like, you can have it. It's yours. Do what you want with it, but we're not cleaning it. We're not going to maintain it for you because we just don't have and that's fair shake, and okay. And they fundraised everything, turned it into a full lockers, stalls, wood stall lockers. The whole length of it, meeting rooms on one side.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So, I mean, they got something good going over there. They just, they're winning more games than they used to and stuff. So, yeah, I'm proud of them. They did a lot of work over there. And then the alums have given money too. They always find, they got nice Nike shoes, Nike gear. Their uniforms are beautiful and stuff. So, they've kind of revitalized it over there. Now they're just got to get over the hump. Every year they run into DGF, and it was always good. And they make it to the Dome pretty much every year, or at US Bank now. But yeah, it's interesting. So it's good to see them win 32-0, but there'll be a boatload of games. When do they?
Saturday.
They did Tuesday, Saturday then.
Saturday. Yep. I know Moorhead plays Saturday afternoon at 2:00. Who do they have?
A low seed then?
They be the 5 or 4 seed. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, but
Moorhead. They should roll deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, they've been consistently putting 50 on the boards,
right?
And got by Alexandria a couple weeks ago, so that would be a fun rematch if it happens. But let's take a look at the sponsors. The UND Football 360 pregame show is always been sponsored by Rumors Sports Bar, Grill, and Casino. And if you're looking for a big beer, a $7 lunch, Rumors is the place to be. Big supporters of UND football. Make it your headquarters when you're in Grand Forks for games. Development Homes, Inc., Gaming, Simulcast, Horse Racing, Pulltabs, Blackjack, Pig Wheel. We just heard about the $1,000 bingo they're doing at Rumors. And it doesn't matter how many people are playing. So make sure you get over there and check it out. Kelly Howe Agency, Nodak Insurance. What's the big quote of the week?
It's always
hunting shacks.
Hunting shacks. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, it is Fire Prevention Month, I know. So,
right. There you go.
Check your smoke detectors in your home.
Well, that is pretty important, especially if they're beeping and waking you up in the middle
of
the night.
That's right. Yeah.
Change the batteries. Firemen over there?
Right. Yeah. It's all coming back. Yeah.
You can only ignore that beeping for so long.
Right.
I've learned. You might want to go change it. Change that. Was it 9 volt? Is that the one that's always beeping because of the 9 volt?
Yeah, and the remotes aren't an excuse because they're all the remotes are AA or AAA now. So we used to have the 9 volt remotes, right? Like 20 years ago. But
Toasted Frog, fine dining in downtown Grand Forks and Fargo. Great. That's a great date night. Or if you want to get some friends, a couple couples to go out for dinner, Toasted Frog is the place to be. 1883 Collective, the NIL arm for UND Athletics. And we're going to hear more about this coming up a little bit later. And there could be some breaking news, I hear, with the NIL right here on the podcast today. We have a lot of questions about the NIL and can't wait to hear from those fellas. Interstate Industrial, steam cleaning and painting in the Bakken oil fields. Marty Shaide. You think he was happy Saturday afternoon?
Very happy. Marty's always happy with a W.
They took care of business. They did what they had to do. Marty's happy. And American Solutions for Business, Tank McNamara. I can help you with all your promotional products, corporate apparel, print, pretty much anything you need a logo on.
Speaking of which, we're working on T-shirts or
yeah,
in the process, or a little glitch on the back end down at the production. Nothing Tank.
It's amazing how a ransomware can screw up a company's network system. As soon
as we put in a T-shirt order, they get hacked and
the owner passes away, and they got a ransomware. So it was bad timing with your shirts, but we got that all taken care of. And the can koozies. Those were big at the Fargo Dome parking lot.
Yeah, they're going like hotcakes. So when you see one, make sure to get one from us.
And I tried one out, and they work.
There you go. That's always a big
it's either the koozie works or I drink fast because my beer never got warm at all. So it's either one of those. So let's take a look at that Kelly Howe Agency game review. 31-7 victory over UNI at the Alaris Center. We already mentioned it. Congratulations to the fans. Over 11,000 in the seats. And boy, I got to give it to Bubba Schweigert. I liked that opening drive and say, fellas, we came here to go to work, and this is what we're going to do, and it's all in your hands now. And he put it in the players' hands, and they delivered for him.
One of those games, Matt, where you just you come in and say, hey, here's where our advantage is.
Yep.
Our advantage is on the line. As the game played out, you could tell. I mean, their D-line wasn't very good. They were down. And an interesting point on that I wanted to bring up, I didn't notice it until I rewatched it late. Number 88, Derek Anderson for them, played both ways. He played tight end and D-line. Yeah, he played D-line for him. That's where they're at right now.
Yeah.
Northern Iowa.
Because of
the
the
kid's
depth.
good. An interesting point about this. Good player, big kid out of Sioux City, I think. His brother, Gabe, is committed to us this summer.
Oh, really?
Committed to UND, yeah. So interesting little note there. But yeah, both ways. Little Gordy Lockbaum,
Yeah, you don't
Holy
see that.
Cross days back in the 80s. I think he went both ways up for the Heisman or something like that. But he, so that's kind of where.
Yeah, the kid
that's
from
where they're at.
Colorado. That's what's his name?
Yeah, Hunter. He does
Yeah.
that, and yeah. So I don't know. It was what we wanted. You know, we want to see when you get him inferior opponent. Like I would have liked to have seen that. You know, just against other, but like when Indiana State came in, you know, when teams that are down come in. Just kind of methodically smother them, beat them, and just kind of end it. And it was boring. I'm just going to come out and say it. The game was kind of boring, but whatever. It was 31-7. Hey,
boring in a W that way.
Well, now we know what it was
every
like
week, right?
The old NCC days.
Yeah.
That was your typical game against Morningside, Augie. They weren't blowouts. They were 30-7.
Right.
That's kind of how they were, and we liked it. You know?
Yeah.
They still have good arms and legs too. So I mean, there's still a deep threat there. I mean, they came to win, right? Too. So they practice and scheme us. So I think we did a good job. And to your point, Tank, that opening drive, we had 4th and 1, and then we were also 4th and 6. So two fourth down conversions that we had in that opening drive. So I liked it.
Yeah.
I think we had confidence in our offense, and it gave us an establishment of, you know what, we need to go down and score. Whatever we do, we're going to go down and score on the opening drive.
I put out a tweet. So I'm watching that opening drive, the longest opening drive of all time, not in terms of possession, but in terms of actual real time. Oh my God. It was like, what did I write? We were 7 minutes in or something to the drive. And we were only at the Northern Iowa 40.
Yeah.
How is that even possible? I mean, after the kick, we went like 35 yards or something ridiculous, 40 yards in 7 game minutes. And we were in no threat to score even yet.
No.
And it was 7 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a different game. But yeah, it was interesting. I wanted to pull up some stats here while I got it and read through them. So first downs, 26-9. That's what we want to see, right? Just methodical.
20 of those come in the first drive.
Right? That's what it is, too. Net yards rushing, 267-36. Okay. Time of possession, 37-23. And first downs, we were 9 of 16, which is very good. Anything over 50% you like. They were 2 of 10. And you brought that up earlier.
Yeah, off the air. I thought that was the key stat of the game because, you know, Matt, you wanted to see 3 and outs. We talked about last week. Didn't get them, but it was kind of that, you know, we'll give you a little, but you're not going to get a lot on us other than that 1 touchdown.
Right. And the pressure we brought defensively was amped up. Let's just say, I mean, when I would rewatch that game, we were coming from all angles. Safeties, outside backers, inside backers. We were hole dropping. I put that clip out on Twitter of a couple back-to-back hole drops where we tipped both of them. Rucker probably should have had the first one, but Pedigo did a nice job on 4th down, tipping it. Joel Schwensfer was changing things up quite a bit, and we were bringing a ton of pressure. We had 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hurries. So it was just guys were coming from all angles, and I think they smelled blood in the water, I should say, when you could see that the Northern Iowa wasn't really going to threaten you much. They hit 1 long pass. That was a nice little skinny post they hit for the touchdown, beat us on that. But other than that, do you remember a real threatening moment where we're super worried in this one?
Not really. I think it just goes back to that methodical, you know, we wanted the 3 and outs. We were commanding on offense, and nothing really jumped out at me as I'm kind of worried about this one. Like, we didn't come out and do what we were supposed to do. And I think it was a good win for us overall. Now, I mentioned off air that is this a UND team that I feel confident like when we have SDSU and USD. I think there's some work to do yet in the next couple of weeks to get to the level where we need to put on a good performance against SDSU to be competitive in that game. So I think, but I liked it. I think we did what we needed to do to get back to where we need to be able to have a good run in this last part of the season.
Yeah, our guy, Dang got in the game, 2 catches, 14 yards. He's a big dude, isn't he?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I liked seeing Jerry out there too. He looked pretty good.
Got in 1 for 1. 12. Yeah. It was good. I was looking at rushing to temps. We like to laugh about how evenly they distribute them. Well, once again, Zebarth 14, Sawyer Seidel 12, Isaiah Smith 8. So he was distributing them nice and evenly again.
Was it Zebar's touchdown where Romfo laid that block down the field?
Oh, was that what that was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it?
He was downfield. And
Yep.
I think that was his touchdown. That was cool to see. I mean, wasn't real physical, but he just got in the guy's way and wasn't going to let him be part of the play.
Did a little scrambling this game too. Again, I like that little back to rolling out, not liking what he's seeing, taking off downfield. That's when the other dimension kicks in that we've been missing a little bit at times. It seems lately he got in the mode of hanging in the pocket a little bit or rolling out and looking for something downfield, which that's kind of what Tommy would do. Tommy would buy time and then find someone. But I think Simon, 5 times a game he needs to take off and just nothing there, take off.
Because you were kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, boom.
Yeah. And, and I think he knows that, but it's also pass rush lanes. So you got to give credit to the defense. Sometimes he couldn't get out. I think it was NDSU and San Diego. I think had him bottled up a few times. He tried to squeak out and they got him. I mean, if they're a sound defense, you're not going to get out, but it's the times they're not, you got to make them pay. And that's, he did that early in the year. And I would envision that coming back because once South Dakota and South Dakota State come to the Alaris Center, he's going to have to get out of there because they're going to be in our backfield. That's just, they're good, and they're going to have penetration and they're going to be sound in their lanes. Got to try to make something happen coming up. But this one, I don't know what else I got written down here, guys. It was solid. Elrics, CJ Elrics.
I was just going to say the unsung hero a lot of times, 100% in field goals this past weekend. So, it's good. 47 yards. It's not it's no joke of a field goal either. I mean, and it was solid. Do you see that thing? Like it was right in the middle and solid. He had another 10 yards easy on that kick. So
it was a nice, easy swing too. I mean, he wasn't giving it everything he had to get it there. Yeah, he's looking good. 11 for 13. I didn't realize that. I had to go to the Missouri Valley Conference stats. He's number 1 kicker in the league. 11 for 13 on the year.
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, that's why I put out that tweet there. I'm like, hey, is this our next great kicker? I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't want to oversell it, but gosh, now I'm starting when
sophomore?
He kicks it. I'm starting to, only a sophomore. When he kicks it, I'm starting to think, geez, that looks good. That sounds good. Looks good. He's the one on Twitter, SuFan12, I think it was, brought up that Leighton Simmering from Rosemount, I think, had committed to us fall 2021. Okay, kicker. K-State came and took him. Kleiman came and took him that winter. Okay, right before signing day, I think. So we didn't have a kicker. Well, Elric signed with us in February. We went and found Elric's in that 2 or 3 month span.
Where's he from?
He's Iowa, isn't he?
Iowa?
Oh gosh, I don't want to disrespect his family here and say it wrong. Let me look up. No, can't. Now I'm thinking Kansas. We're gonna pause the show and we're gonna pull up the roster and get this right for the folks here because his family is gonna be real mad if we're wrong here. What do we got? I should know this, shouldn't I? All right. Come on. Okay.
We need a better producer.
Yeah. What the hell happened here? Kicker Elrex, Kansas. Yeah.
Kansas.
Yeah. Olathe, Kansas.
Kansas.
I call it Olathe. I don't know if that's it, but Kansas kicker. So they went down and found him. That was a hell of a find. Plus, is he kicking up? Jeez, I'm not even paying attention. Yeah, but I know we needed to replace the kickoff. our kickoff guy last year.
It's funny. Viking fans are talking. Their kicker's perfect right now, and they're getting a little nervous. The old Gary Anderson. Yeah. They're like, maybe he should just miss one before the playoffs, right?
Right. Yeah.
They don't want to go down that road again. So it's always nice to have a kicker in your back pocket. And I don't think we've seen the confidence there since that string of, growing up into the 90s. It was like UND never had to worry about a kicker.
Well, I listed them. Was it Beatty and Solberg? Beatty and Solberg were before I got there. And then
Juan
Gomez Tagle.
Yeah.
I still remember the one.
Cameron.
He kicked in the Fargo Dome 1996. I was a freshman, I think, playing. But he kicked it, and I believe we found the box score. I think it was 45-48, somewhere in there. It was decent, good kick. But boom, you could hear it sound like a shotgun going off. Because I was standing on the sideline right there watching. And you watch it, and it's halfway up the uprights, right dead center. I'm like, holy, back in the 90s, that's you don't just see it as often, but
he probably holds the record for biggest kicker at UND, right? Yeah. He could have filled in at nose or kicked, right? He's a big guy.
Yeah. He was a strong dude, but he was good. Yeah, and then we went into Paterka and Glass.
Yeah.
Came after
him,
and they were both All-Americans.
They were. And then Paterka got the all-time scoring record for UND, and then Glass broke it right after him. So,
yeah, I wasn't surprised there. Should we put Northern Iowa to bed? You guys had enough?
Yeah, that's
we took care of business.
To see.
Right?
They're a down team. Brought them in, smothered them. They had, where is that? 214 yards of offense. Great, perfect. That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
What you do to a team and it wasn't going to be a sexy game, like you said, the way they play. So let's just put bed, move on, and we got a big guest coming up here, Tank.
Yeah, but let's take a trip around the valley here real quick. South Dakota State, NDSU. Did you guys watch them? I didn't get to see any of it, but it sounded like it was a pretty good football game.
I watched very, very little. Texas and Georgia was stealing my attention there, but it sounded like
what do you
real
learn about
bloodbath.
South Dakota State after this game?
Yeah, they're not scoring like they used to. I'll tell you that much. They don't.
Defense
look the
is still
same.
Good. Strong on defense. Yeah. They're very sound. They're all big dudes up front. They're
sound, physical, good players. There's no worries on their defense, but offensively, the regression of that offense, like I said, I've seen them off and on throughout the year. I watched a little bit of the game, not much, but it's just not the same. I don't know. It's not the same. Well, when you lose 6 guys to the NFL, that'll happen.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
The cupboard's going to be a little dry, right? The well's going to be a little dry. Yeah.
But didn't Gronowski win the Walter Payton Award?
He did.
Ooh.
He looked good. He looked good. He was their offense, but a few times they could have converted and actually gone up and been in the red zone a few times, but their wide receivers were just out of bounds. They were making the connections. They were just out of bounds. So they were making drives on the Bison. They just weren't able to finish off those probably like 3 drives that they just
made the drive at the end,
and then they
to win it.
Yeah,
that was it.
That's all they needed.
So they made their big drive. So you got to give them credit at home.
I saw they lost their backup quarterback though. He's out for the year now.
Yeah,
Peyton
with injuries
with the Bison.
Yeah.
So
because he was in on the game against SCSU, I
think he got hurt in the game. And he's out for the year.
No kidding.
Yeah, that
might sting a little bit for them. They like to use him throughout the game. Youngstown State, South Dakota. South Dakota gets the win 27-17. Did you think that one would be a little different?
I watched a good portion of the first half into the third quarter. Youngstown looked all right. They were juiced up. They got up 14-0 in this one. So they looked all right. Quarterback, we're going to preview him a little bit. He's a good player. Bo Brungard, he can run around. Good kid. He's their leading rusher and passer. I don't know. Yeah, they just it got away from them. It slowly, methodically just got away. They just couldn't keep up. But it was interesting. I think it was 17-14 Youngstown at half. So they can play. UND's got to be ready.
Illinois State, Murray State, 40-32. You surprised that was as close as it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
bit.
expect more from Illinois State and defense being able to put away Murray State. I mean,
Yeah.
We obviously played Murray State, but nothing spectacular about Murray State where I think, you should be able to, but how many points did they have on us, Murray? 35?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, they're talented, but
Yeah, I'm not a real sold on Illinois State either. I don't know. They're a middle of the pack team, but yeah, I think Murray was winning for a while in that game. So yeah, they're a little closer than you'd think.
And then Missouri State, they continue to go, right? 46-21 over Indiana State. And I don't think a lot of people had Missouri State on their radar at the beginning of the year, but I wouldn't want to play them.
Here's the other thing I forgot is that they're not playoff eligible. I forgot about that completely because they're going FBS. Yeah. So they can ruin some resumes here, but they can't make the playoffs, which actually helps teams like UND, that are on the bubble and going to be in that, discussion.
Where in the FBS are they going?
Was it USA?
Or is it Sun Belt? USA or Sun.
Okay.
Yeah, one of those two.
The only two that would take them.
Right. Yeah, speaking of Conference USA, I watched, and I don't know why. It just sucks me in. Last night again, was at Sam Houston and FIU. They had a Miami Vice night at Florida International.
Was there, right?
Yeah, they had a yacht on the sideline and pink and coral blue, whatever
That'd be
colors.
Kind of fun to go to,
it was like the announcers were in the t-shirt sport coat thing. They had Don Johnson look. So
did they have more fans than was it you that shared the San Jose State crowd?
No, they didn't really. No, it was pretty bad.
There's just a few people that showed up for a football game more.
Yeah,
more than a crowd, right?
It was not. Yeah.
What was the announced attendance for that? Did you look in the box score?
Oh, last night? No, I never did look.
You can't go by.
Oh, the San Jose. I think the Twitter feed said the guy who was making a joke about it said it was 17,000. That's what they said were there. Well, obviously that's the tickets sold.
Corporate
their season tickets.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's Mountain West Conference, but yeah, I don't know, Missouri State. Yeah, they'll do fine. They'll do fine in that conference. There's no problem at all. So yeah, but that's nice. Though I completely forgot about them not being eligible, so it helps, and we don't play them, so that's good too, because it would probably help the resume if we beat them, but it sure wouldn't help if we lost. So,
right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Well, it is time now for our Development Homes 360 Guest of the Week, and it's a topic that we're very excited to hear about and learn more about. It's the 1883 Collective. It's the NIL arm for UND Athletics, something new for many of us. And on the line with us right now is John HOLTH. He's the owner of the Toasted Frog and one of the organizers of the 1883 Collective. And we appreciate you coming on today, John.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to chatting about this.
Yeah, John, I've joked around with these guys that whenever you opened the Toasted Frog so many years ago, you got me hooked on those fried pickles. So ever since then, it's been, I don't know, a couple pounds on me ever since eating those fried pickles. But boy, they are delicious. So thanks for broadening my palate, I would say. I never had fried pickles before.
Happy to do it. That means it's working.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And I got a similar story. I hadn't had Brussels sprouts forever, and you had them on the menu that night, and I took them down like a pro.
That's awesome.
That's how we do it here.
Yeah.
All healthy.
Right.
Healthy options.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, pickles,
Right.
Cucumber, it's a vegetable.
Right.
I think. Maybe. I don't know. John, we're going to take probably a 30,000-foot view. You've been associated with UND for a long time, went to school there. How did you start the Toasted Frog? What does the university mean to you? How are you associated with it? And then I think we'll move into, the NIL after that.
Yeah. So, I'm a lifelong Grand Forks resident. UND's in my blood. My parents, my siblings, my in-laws all went to UND and all have been very active in the university for as long as I can remember. In terms of the Toasted Frog, we opened back in 2006, so coming up on 19 years next May.
Oh wow!
Started by myself and my business partner Sean Clapp, who we worked together at Sanders for many years together, and then we both were managing. We were the opening managers at the Hotel Donaldson down in Fargo, and that opened, and then saw an opportunity to come back to Grand Forks and start something unique. So we did it. So that's coming up on 19 years, which is crazy to me. But it's been we've been downtown Grand Forks. It's been great. We see the impacts of UND and UND athletics on our business every week. We get really excited when fall seasons start back up because it means bigger crowds before and after games. So it's just been UND's been really great for the business. The community of Grand Forks has been great. Fargo's been great. We opened up in Fargo in 2014, so it's been a little over 10 years down there. So yeah, business has been good at the Frog.
Yeah, multiple locations, like you said. We live in Fargo down here, so my wife and I, Emmy, you know her quite well, yep. John. We hit the downtown one, a nice location too. Has that gone well for you guys down here, especially being downtown?
Yeah, it's been, frankly, like we weren't necessarily even looking for a specific location in Fargo at the time, but when that location right across the street from the Fargo Theater, came open, we jumped on it, and downtown's been great. A lot of people live downtown, so you get that automatic foot traffic. When there's an event at the Fargo Theater, which there's a lot of them, we get packed before and after events. So again, it's been a really good spot for us too.
If we transition into the 1883 Collective here, which we're a UND football show, and that program is directly affected by the 1883 Collective. I got a lot of questions here that I don't know how you'll answer them or whatever, but questions I wanted answered, but people would like to. But before we do that, sure. How did it come about? Just tell us about the 1883 Collective, kind of a timeline, maybe who approached who, how it came about, how you got involved, and just how it's evolved over time.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of people have, that if you've been following the collegiate athletics landscape over the years, you've seen collectives pop up, particularly, a few years ago, started happening at larger schools, but we saw them start to work their way into FCS level and, mid-majors for other sports. And I think a lot of people for a while were asking UND, how come we don't have a collective at UND? And, the short answer to that is, UND can't start one. They have to be third party, not affiliated directly with the university. So, I just started to kind of see what was happening with some of our competitive schools and started to chat with people in the athletic department and just said, hey, if I wanted to do this, would we have your support? And athletic department was great right out of the gate, and said, yeah, this is something that we would support. So we just started this was in really in January of this year, started to have these conversations and started to put it together, started to study collectives from around the country to see what we could learn. Quickly found out that there's not two collectives in the country that are alike. So they're all different and doing different things. We hired NIL attorneys to help us set the thing up, which I didn't know was a thing until we got into this. But hired some really great attorneys that helped us set this thing up the right way from a legal perspective. Found the best, the nation's leader in NIL software to start using them to manage our NIL program here, and really just got after it pretty quick. So those conversations started in January, and we launched officially in March, and have been off and running ever since.
Can I ask who was the first athlete at UND to sign on to the NIL arm?
The first contract that we had signed, that's framed and hanging up in our office, was Jackson Coons, hockey player, Grand Forks guy. So he was the first official contract that we signed, and did a lot right after him. Have done a lot more, but that was the first.
So if we had to look, okay, I got a few detail questions. I've ever,
Yep.
Okay, so we look at this right now. I don't know if you have the exact number, but if you had to ballpark, how many UND athletes are part of the collective right now?
Yeah. So, it's really interesting. Our goal we set out, when we set out to do this thing is, Matt Bonser, my business partner, and I in this said, our goal is for every single student athlete in every program at UND to get NIL money. Now, that's still the goal, and that takes time. There's about 350 student athletes at UND. So, we're slowly building that really every day, but we're north of 100 for sure right now in terms of student athletes that have received NIL money from the collective. Now, there's a lot of factors that come into play for this too. For example, one of the reasons that the NIL attorneys that we hired are so important is that firm that we hired also has immigration attorneys, and there's a whole different set of rules for international student athletes. They have not only NCAA NIL rules to follow, but they have United States immigration rules to follow according to keep their student visa too. So, as you guys know, we have a lot of international student athletes at UND, for a couple reasons. Number one, our proximity to Canada. Number two, our coaches have done a really good job across all programs of recruiting on those fronts. So that limits us in terms of what we can do for those international student athletes, but we've also worked really hard to find creative ways to make sure that we can get some money in their pockets too.
Well, why isn't every student signed up? Do they have to do something to qualify, or why isn't all 300 and some athletes signed up right now?
So there's a lot more than 100. I mentioned we're north of 100. That's the number that have actually received money from the collective. There's a lot more that have signed up and are ready to go. We're just in the fundraising phase, right? And so UND's got a great setup in terms of the athletes being able to participate in NIL. And the other thing that I think is noteworthy here too is that, student athletes can get name, image, and likeness money from other entities. They don't have to go through the collective, right? So there's other programs out there that they can access, and that's all managed through a compliance office, at UND. So when I talk numbers, Tank, I'm talking there, we're north of 100 in terms of athletes that have received money from the collective, but and that number continues to grow every day.
And here, one thing that I noticed on the website, this isn't just the 1883 collective frivolously giving money to players to make them happy. This is it says right on the website, is not a pay for participation organization. Student athletes are not compensated merely for being athletes, but can earn NIL opportunities facilitated by the collective. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, NCAA rules specifically say that, NIL money cannot be pay for play. Now, I don't think it's any secret that there are probably collectives that are doing exactly that, right? For, writing checks to athletes for being athletes. We, from the very beginning, one of the things that was the most important thing, I would say the thing that was the most important thing to Matt and I, and frankly to the university and the athletic department, was to have an NIL program with integrity. You guys know, you've been on campus, you've seen all the amazing things that are happening at UND right now, between facilities, growing enrollment, and fantastic administration. We wanted to make sure that we were doing something that was additive, that advanced the mission, vision, and values of the university, and was a program with integrity. So as we set out with this, we said, here's the deal. You're not going to get a check just for being an athlete. we're going to find opportunities for you to get out in the community, to serve the community, whether that's, working with kids, whether that's, doing marketing for local nonprofits. You have to do something and do something worthwhile in order to get compensated here. So that's what that means, is that, we're taking that rule to heart, and we're finding ways to really impact the community positively, as well as provide opportunities for the student athletes at the same time.
John, driving home on that compensation part, I think people just have some misconceptions about what the NIL actually is as well, where you sign up for the NIL and all of a sudden these student athletes get buckets of money delivered at their doorstep. Could you walk us through how they actually get money? They sign up for the collective and then they sell their image and likeness, but how do they get that money from the collective? Like, do they have a bank account that it's automatically deposited? How do those student athletes actually collect that, and how is it determined specifically?
Sure. Yeah. It's really, in terms of how it's determined, it's really on a case-by-case basis, right? And part of this, I mean, if you look at, name, image, and likeness and the definition of that, I mean, there are going to be different levels in terms of each player, in terms of, what brand they've built for themselves within their programs and within the community. So, these opportunities, a lot of them, when I talk about the community service opportunities, which is one piece of this, the other piece is, we serve as a broker with local businesses for marketing and sponsorship opportunities for these student athletes. To this point, a lot of it's been determined by, what's been asked of them. So, a business might reach out and say, hey, we want to do some ads, and I want this athlete and this athlete and this athlete. So then we work with them on the compliance process, with negotiating what's fair market value for that athlete. The third leg of this is that we really work closely with the student athletes on mentoring and guiding them on issues that they probably wouldn't otherwise know about, like, understanding what their fair market value is for their time, on tax issues, right? We're explaining to them how much money to put away when they make this money, so that when Uncle Sam comes knocking at the beginning of the year, that they're prepared for that and don't get hit with a tax bill that they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot that goes into this. In short, though, when that happens, essentially, if a business comes to us, or if we find a community service opportunity where an athlete can get paid for doing that, we propose a transaction, and that athlete has to look at it and accept it through the software that we use. Once they accept it, it automatically goes to UND's compliance office for their review. And if they approve it, then we execute that transaction. And then after that transaction has been executed, then they get paid directly through that software. They've got their bank account linked there and everything. That way, it's all reported properly. That way, at the end of the year, they get all their proper tax forms from the same place from us. So it's a multi-step process, but it ensures that everyone is following NCAA rules. They're following UND's NIL compliance policy. They're following the IRS policies with international student athletes. They're following immigration policies. It's a multi-step process, but each process is really, really important.
On the other side of that, John, what about let's say there's a lot of business degrees that have come out of the UND football program. Let's say we have a couple of guys that have their own businesses, and they want to participate in the NIL. They want to sell a product to help out some of these student athletes. On the other end of it, what are some of what can a business do? They want to participate. They just don't know how. What kind of businesses do you accept into the NIL? What kind of products do you accept? Could you explain a little bit about that?
So, what an incredible tee up for what I'm about to share with you guys right there. Man.
Is this the breaking news that you were
I have
going to give us?
I have ESP.
Hold on here.
By the way.
What do we got going here, John?
I got a scoop, guys, and you heard it here first on the UND Football 360 podcast. So, your question, I will tell you, since we've launched, one of the things that we've heard over and over again is, we've got a membership structure which is detailed on our website where, fans can participate as members. They get all sorts of different perks and things like that for being a member of the collective. We've heard over and over again from people, hey, how can I get my business involved? Besides the work that we've done with particular businesses where they might hire a student athlete to do marketing for their business, they want to find ways to get their business involved. So by the end of this week, you will see an additional section on our website that is business memberships. And that is different levels for businesses to participate in the collective where they get different business perks as well for contributing to the collective. Those membership levels will range from $100 a month up to $1,000 a month. Again, you get different perks that, with each of that, which includes, discounts on using student athletes for marketing. It includes different swag and things like that you can hang up in your business. It includes access to some new events that we're going to be hosting where the business community can ask questions directly of the coaching staff. So business memberships will launch later this week. And the general public is hearing that for the first time right here and right now.
Interesting. I like that because that's a bigger pool of money, I guess you could say, rather than, the times are tight right now, and we all, we know that.
Yep.
And, but now you're accessing businesses, which in the North Dakota, area, North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, whatever, they don't have to be from around here, but it seems like the economy is doing well, I guess you could say, okay, to where getting businesses involved. I like that. It's like, plus they have to spend money. So, businesses, or you either spend it or you give it to the government at the end of the year is what I'm figuring out as a small business owner. You either spend it on marketing or you give it away. So one of the two, that type of thing. So interesting. I like that.
Yeah. It's a marketing expense for businesses and they'll get some marketing out of it too. So, we want it to be mutually beneficial, but again, that is a direct reflection of a lot of people in the business community asking Matt and I, hey, how do I get my business involved? So we've worked hard the past few weeks on putting together a program that we can execute that's mutually beneficial for the collective, for the university, for student athletes, and for the business community. So hopefully be some good marketing out there. We can get some more 1883 collective swag, sweatshirts and T-shirts on people. And speaking of that, by the way, I realized on Saturday at the Alaris Center, I had a huge missed opportunity by not having Matt wearing an 1883 collective sweatshirt with the amount of time that he was on the Jumbotron.
Yeah, well,
did you make it?
That was a lot of big screen time for you, Matt.
Yeah, it was a slow day for the cameraman. The students kind of quieted down there in the third quarter. So
let's just say the $100 he gives the cameraman on Saturdays would be better off going to the 1883 collective, right? Yeah. We don't need to see his mug on the screen.
Hey, my wife made it on. Oh gosh, let's call it 20 years ago. Okay, I don't even know. It was the D2 days. Okay, we're sitting down in the front row. I think a guy at work gave me his tickets. She made it on and realized it and just started dancing. It was the greatest moment of her life. And it still comes up. Like, I think that's her dream, is to make it back on again, just like you did, Matt. It's something you don't forget.
Right.
All right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Could have had one of Matt's multiple appearances.
Right.
Well, I didn't know it when I bought those tickets that there'd be a cameraman permanently plucked, like right in front of us the whole time. So I try to duck and dodge and the camera.
Hey, John, I wanted to talk about high school recruiting. I don't know. I have no idea how that works with you guys at this point, because all we've talked about now is on campus athletes once they've signed and are on a team. Okay. High school recruiting. You got Brad Berry, Bubba, Paul Sather, those would be the three I would think of when it comes to high school kids that may, where you guys may need to be involved, especially I'm assuming hockey's starting to ramp it up. You don't hear as much about hockey, but I'm assuming that it's trickling in, and I'll let you get to that in a second here. But, Paul Sather, he would have to be one, I would assume, just because basketball is so hyper competitive in the NIL market. How does it work? are you guys actively pulled in, for a high school recruit? And if you are, how does that process play out, and maybe talk about, basketball versus hockey versus football, and kind of let people know how it works.
Yeah, I think, to your point about different sports, we learned early on after the collective was formed that each program is going to use the collective a little differently, right? Because their NIL is just different in each sport. And frankly, just a few months ago, collectives weren't legally allowed to be involved in the recruiting process until, a court case overturned that a few months ago. So now collectives can be involved in the recruiting process legally. I know they were before when it wasn't legal, but now we can be. So what the approach that we've taken so far is, I think two things are important here. Number one, when we launched, we wanted the collective to ultimately be a roster management tool in the toolbox for the coaches, and for them to be able to use that, the collective and NIL, however they thought was best for their program. So we've let the coaches dictate how they've used the collective and how they've used us as spokespeople for the collective. And it's different across programs. You mentioned hockey. I mean, hockey recruiting is a year-round thing, right? It's not a couple of quick pockets, right? I mean, it's a year-round thing. Conversations are always ongoing. Where we've gotten involved with sports here so far is really when, a recruit comes to campus or is on a call, we'll meet with them and just kind of share, hey, this is what the collective is. These are what our goals are for the collective, and these are the opportunities that we hope to provide for you. Obviously, being relatively new, just a few months old, we just haven't, we're not comfortable making promises that we don't 100% know that we can keep, right? So, as we're still in full-on fundraising mode, we're explaining to recruits, hey, this is what the collective is, this is what it can do for you, and these are what our goals are. So that's really what it's been so far. Now, as we grow and raise more money and get to the point where, we know exactly, hey, this program is going to have this amount to work with this year, then I think that those conversations will change, right? And that's going to be important. I mean, we know you mentioned basketball. The basketball NIL world is wild, right? It's just crazy, and it's getting there for football. A year ago, NIL and Division I hockey wasn't even really a thing. Now it's every program in Division I hockey has to have NIL. So it ramped up quickly. So we've been involved in the recruiting process in the sense of meeting with recruits, sharing what the collective is, how it can help them, how we can help mentor them when they're here and help them manage their NIL too. And that's really where we've been at with recruiting, and we expect that to continue and just get more prevalent as things move on here.
You mentioned each sport is a little different how they're doing it. We're a football podcast. Are you at liberty to say, how is the UND football program running their NIL right now? How do they utilize it?
We are I'm assuming that all of our competitors listen to this podcast. I'm working under that assumption. So
you don't want to let too many cats out of the bag, is what you're saying.
I don't.
Huh? Okay.
I don't. But I will say this. We met with Bubba right out of the gate, right before we formed this thing, and I think I will say that the UND football coaching staff has really the right mindset when it comes to NIL and their progressive thinking in terms of understanding the importance of it, that it's not going anywhere. But also, again, like I mentioned earlier, that we have the opportunity, we think, to do something really special here at UND with NIL and do something with integrity. It's not a win at all costs mentality, right? We're not giving up our integrity in order to do whatever it takes to win. We think we can do things the right way and with integrity and win at the same time. So we have regular conversations with the coaching staff. Our offices, I'm looking right now I'm looking down at the boys practicing on a crisp day right now on Memorial Stadium practice field. We're right in Memorial Village. So, you know, I would say that we're doing well in our competitive landscape with NIL for our football program. But I'll tell you guys too, you know, we're at the point now where we're telling people, like, we're here to provide opportunities for student athletes, but we can't provide those opportunities unless people give money to the collective so we can do that. So we need people to give. And, you know, we've tried to create a lot of different pathways for them to do that. I think a lot of people assume that this is such big dollars that I can't afford to participate. You know, we've got membership levels that start at $25 a month. And I tell you what, you get a lot of those members, that adds up quickly. So, so we encourage people to give at this point so that we can build the best NIL program in our conference. We think we can do something special here.
John, where can people find out more about this? Where can they give or get a hold of you guys if they're in Grand Forks and want to just sit down and learn more about the opportunities for them to be a part of the NIL? How do they find you?
You bet. Yep. Everything that you need to know can be found on 1883collective.com, including contact information for myself and for Matt Bonser. Send us an email. We'd be happy to host you at our offices, meet you for coffee somewhere. There's a Get Involved tab on our website, which has all of our membership levels and all the associated perks with it there. So you can sign up right from the website. There's a one-time contribution button if you just, want to give a few bucks here and there without doing the monthly contribution. So head on over to the website, check it out. And then, if you're, a business owner or manager, be on the lookout for a press release coming out later this week and another tab on our website that has those business memberships as well.
I'm just sad it doesn't get delivered in an old SMU duffel bag just to pay tribute to SMU that got us into this mess before
Fat stacks.
No, I think it's great what you guys are doing up there, and this was great. I learned so much more about this, and it sounds like this is just going to keep developing as we go. There's really no set deal to this. I'm getting so credit to you and Matt, John. Way to put your feet out there for UND, and we're just very appreciative of it.
Thanks. We're excited about the future of UND and UND athletics, and just want to be able to help however we can. So we think that all things are pointing in the right direction for UND athletics, and we just want to help them get there a little bit faster.
Well, it is time now to look ahead. It's the Toasted Frog 360 game preview. UND travels to Youngstown State Stambaugh Stadium, 20,630. It holds. Kickoff at 5 o'clock this Saturday, and I don't think we'll be close to a full stadium.
No,
I'm just going to guess right now.
I don't think it ever is.
They're averaging about 8,000, I think. 8,500 at the best. So
let me ask you guys this: a 5 o'clock game on the road. That does not sound like fun if you have to play in that game.
Well,
right? I mean, your schedule's just screwed up.
I assume that's East Coast time too.
It
Ohio, right?
That'll be the central time.
So 6 o'clock.
It changes just after Chicago, does it?
5 o'clock our time. Yeah.
Yeah. So 6 out there. And I know I talked to in the past I had asked about this because they late in the year they go to these starts. I think last week South Dakota's game was later in the day too. They go to these later out there, and nobody knows why.
And we go earlier here, noon.
Yeah, UND
is it a TV thing?
Teams don't like it. I know that.
Who's going to carry Youngstown?
Yeah, I mean they're 25th in the pecking order in Ohio. I mean it's I don't know. They don't like it because it's not. You sit around all day, which obviously everybody hates.
Yeah, I hate it.
But you don't get home till midnight, 1 in the morning. Now it's not exactly the Great West days where you're getting home at 4 in the morning from Cal Poly or anything, but it's still, you're getting home midnight 1. And it's just, I don't quite understand these late starts that they turn to at the end of the year, but They must have a reason, and I think they're the only one who does it in the whole conference, because the conference loves to play during the day. It makes sense. You get home at a reasonable hour, you refresh better for the next week, type of thing. And yeah, it's different, but whatever. It'll change up we have more of my Saturday to go out and rake leaves. Like I like to do.
When you're done, I'll give you my address.
Yeah,
I got some more for you.
You're so full of it. You live in South Fargo. There's not any trees tall enough in
Frontier.
South Fargo.
Frontier, we're surrounded.
Old school South
1 acre
Fargo.
lot. I got 200 trees that are 60 feet tall, and I got leaves. Okay, every year.
I'll bring the backpack leaf blower we got for the lake.
Blow them
over.
to the neighbor. Blow them across.
I could go use it. I feel like a Ghostbuster with that thing. It's awesome.
Those do work.
Youngstown, boy, they got hit with the portal, and it's showing this year, isn't it?
Yeah, especially defensively, they got issues. Their offense has had their moments, but yeah, defensively, it's a struggle. They 4 down, but just not the same. Just not. They've had players in the past. I remember, like, whoa, look at these guys, like FBS looking guys.
Yeah,
and like when we went there in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
good. I mean, they had a good team, and we snuck out of there 35-30. Heck of a football game. Fun to watch. We blocked a punt. I think it was Cole Davis. Blocked that punt. That we recovered it for a touchdown. Ended up being the difference. But just doesn't look the same. I think if I remember, we talked about this preseason, I think their entire defense hit the portal. The ones that didn't graduate. It was like 9 starters or some ridiculous number left. And so they had to recreate this thing, and what you're seeing is a 2-6 record. It's just not. I don't know. I kind of feel bad for them.
Yeah, not that they're bad players. It's just that when you start with no experience at all and trying to go up against the Missouri Valley Conference teams, it's just tough to perform when you don't have any memory recall in these types of games.
When you mentioned they're the bottom of the pecking order, there are a lot of schools around that can pick from them, right?
Youngstown, that's Eastern Ohio,
but I mean,
right?
even NFL teams, NBA teams, I mean, they're just not even on the radar for like attention, like we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it start at 6? Well, they're not even on the radar. You know what I mean?
And, I forget there's 2 NFL teams in Ohio.
Right. It's
I think, right? Isn't there 2?
Yeah, there's
Bengals and the Browns, right?
Yeah.
But they have 2 wins. 2 wins on the year. They beat Valpo early, which they should, and Indiana State 21-14, and that was a struggle from what I remember. They're just not. Lost 63-13 the next week at South Dakota State. Last week put up a fight against South Dakota at home, so that should have UND's attention at the very least. I mean, if they had just beaten or just lost 63-13 to South Dakota State, you're not going to get their attention. UND might have walked in there and been like, whoa, kind of like South Dakota down 14-0 early, have to come back. But they put up a fight, and that tape will look pretty good against South Dakota, that UND's watching. So
offensively,
at this thing,
3-headed monster, the running back, just stay with that.
For
the running backs, yeah.
I mean,
make sure they all have about 13-14 carries and get out of there injury free.
Yeah,
I think
good
so. It's
plan.
the Youngstown is last in the conference in rushing defense. I think it was where are we at?
Where are they at? 220 per game.
220.
They don't bring a lot of pressure. It's just pretty much. It seems like they stay in their base defense and just try to react to the play. They don't. From what I saw, I watched the South Dakota game and then highlights of the Indiana game. I skipped the SDSU game that they played. They got rolled 63 points. But
we do better against teams like that just kind of read and react because we can get the initial push. We can get the initial double team up front. And then it's just on our back. See if the back can make the backer miss. The first game.
And they've been good at that.
Which we're good at.
And one thing, bringing that up, you remember we talked about patience that we had. So they do have patience because they have to. They have to kind of let the hole develop and see which hole develops, type of thing. And last week, I think when Isaiah Smith fumbled that handoff, I mean, it was a perfect handoff right in his stomach. He tried to grab it, but he was looking for that hole. So that's the downside that I started to think, okay, that is a down. He knows he can't go. He can't grab that like old days in the 80s, 90s. You're going through the 1, 3, or 5.
Whether it's there or not.
Okay, you better be full speed by the time you hit the hole, right?
Well, he was getting it while he's reaching his hands out trying to grab the ball while looking to find the hole and never even got the ball. It wasn't Simon's fault. And I started to think, well, okay, we got to get back, we can't be having that late in the year. Now we're getting tired. Things are changing, dynamics changing, whatever. You're getting a little more injured, our teams are twisting different stuff up front. So now you're starting to wonder where the hole will be. Dial it back in. No, we got to get the handoffs. Okay, we can't have that. We got it back, I believe, if I recall. We got the ball back, but I think he fell on it. But
yeah, it didn't look like it though right away. It looked like we lost that one.
We can't have that in a game like this, especially. So that was one thing, that came up. But this game is just inside. It's zone. Just running zone. I shouldn't even say inside, outside. It doesn't matter, but it's a zone game. You got to run right at them. Everyone's run right at them. Same game plan. What would change? Anything change from last week, you guys?
No,
I don't know.
I think just gain our confidence on the road. I think that's the biggest thing we're looking for, is that just having a dominant win on the road. Yep. You do that by sticking to your game plan and doing things methodically like we just did last weekend at home, because let's face it, we struggle on the road. We're very good at home. We struggle on the road, even against teams that we should dominate. So that's what we need to do.
Have you guys put your finger on that problem? Do we have to do another podcast here?
Maybe. I don't know.
It's amazing some weeks though how different this team can look.
Well, see, they've looked okay. It's gotten better. It seems. What was that? Was that a couple of years ago when we had 3 wins on the road? I can't remember, but it's gotten better when we won at Youngstown. We won at Indiana State, won at Murray State. That was ugly.
Mm-hmm.
But then we dropped 2 or 3 years ago, we dropped that one at Missouri State where we just
fumbled at the end, right? Yeah. We had the game and we just didn't put it away.
Led the whole time and gave it away at the end. And those are the ones that kind of, but people are forgetting we have gotten better. We've won games we should. Now, we haven't gotten better in the Fargo Dome. We know that. And South Dakota State, we haven't looked better down there. We only went there once, I think. But we'd look good. But was that last year at the South Dakota? 14-10, we led the whole game.
Yeah.
We didn't score one touchdown. I think Red ran a kickoff back. That was the only touchdown we got.
Mm-hmm.
We end up losing late 14-10. We could have won that game. So if we win that game, are we not talking about a bad? I think it's evolving. It's not where we want it to be.
Right.
Is that the best way to put it?
To be at the top of the Missouri Valley, it's not where it needs to be, but we're making strides in improvement. And maybe we have we remember the last how many seasons of football too. And I think, some of those playoff games that we've lost on the road, last year every playoff game has been on the road. So, and we just have lost games on the road that we should win.
Well, we were at home. We didn't even look good.
Right.
It's like,
well,
Jesus.
that's the other.
Then now it's it's not. We were begging for the home game forever, and then we get it at home, and we didn't even look good then. So we're hoping,
And I don't want this to be a bitch session for us either, but but it has been an issue, so I think it's warranted, worth discussing a little bit. That
the headline,
we need a dominant win on the road.
Been 8 weeks since we've been out of the state, right?
Yeah, I mean, holy cow,
and outside, too. I started. See, I read it wrong. How I figured that out, I read it wrong. I thought he was saying it was our first game outside. And I was laughing.
Yeah,
hey, I'm gonna put a tweet about this. And then I reread it, and he meant out of the state. And then I started thinking, no, it's out of the state. And outdoors.
Yeah.
We haven't been outdoors since Iowa State.
State, when it was 85 degrees.
But it'll be good. It's going to be tough. I don't think UND is ever going to go the way they're set up right now. We're not going to go into a Youngstown, kind of a tough environment, long drive, long flight, I should say. We're never going to go in and blow them. It's just not going to happen. We don't play that way. We would win a steady game by a touchdown or two, is what I'm thinking.
I'd like to see 2. I'd like to see
be great.
2. We're not to predictions yet, but I'd like to see us up by 2 at the end.
So I don't think that's going to happen with this UND team, but they got to win this game. Youngstown is 2-6 for a reason.
Talk defense. Bo Brungard is their quarterback, and he's their leading rusher and passer. So my theory on that would be, if he's going to run it, let's hit him, right? Let's make him feel every play, and because then in the third and fourth quarter, he's not going to feel like being out there much, right? Wouldn't that be the recipe?
Well, it's a great game for our D line and outside linebackers because just containing him in the pocket, collapsing in around them. I don't see us, we'll probably bring some pressure on their offense. But I don't see it as being like, we got to blitz the hell out of these guys to get at them. No, I think just our base defense and letting our guys pin their ears back a little bit and getting after it. But it's a game that our outside linebackers and D-line really need to take control of, especially with their offensive line, because they're not as big. It was a couple of years ago where their O-line, we talked about it, that they were probably the best in the conference for their O-line. That's not that same O-line that they used to have.
Their tackles are good, but you know what it is? These tackles are the same ones we played against for the last 2 or 3 years. Same kids, but the interiors.
Maybe that's what
so the tackles are good. Interior.
Their guards were as big as their tackles were, and they could move, and their center was like 6'3" or 6'4"
They
too.
were good.
Yeah,
they're
all big. They're all good. They're all athletic. And they could move, they could pull, they could do whatever they wanted to. So it was dangerous, but it's not that same dynamic that we're going up against. So
an issue this week will be their running game is a lot of option feel to it. Now we're not talking the veer, but we're talking concepts of that. So they come at these teams, and you see them, they'll come back through with a hand of inside zone, then he'll keep it run. They're running. It's like, out of the gun when they do that now with the gun option thing. Yeah. So they're kind of going to that, and it's tough to prepare for. It is. And so that's why he's their leading rusher, Bo Brungard, the quarterback, 6 foot 215. I mean, he's a tank. So he's their leading rusher. Plus against South Dakota, he kept taking off. He dropped back, catch it. They were going to go long, but then he'd take off, get the first down. I mean, those are the ones that kill you. Like what we want Simon to do.
Right.
That type of thing. So it's a tough offense. I think pressure this week, like you said, it's just hard to pinpoint. Last week we brought a ton of it, but this week you can't start sending guys all over the place if they're going to run that kind of a running downfield.
That's my point. Where I don't think we can. We will.
Kind of got to be gap sound.
Our front three need to just have a good game, I think, up front, because we can't let them get all those yards, run for first downs every series.
What was it, Kelly? Did you bring it up? Was it our inside backers were doing something a little different on pass coverage?
Well, yeah, they've been doing it this year, but I just noticed it more. Yeah, I just noticed it for some reason. It jumped out at me last game with the hole dropping. Yeah, we were even Rucker, like we would bring, line up. Sometimes we line up Rucker 5 yards off the ball. And also he comes flying through the sea, type of a thing, like that. And so last week we're lining him up. He comes, act like he's coming through, acts like he's going to be blitzing, and then hole drops. Yeah. Well, they ran a slant right behind him. Boom. He could have had it, pick. Those are little things. It seems like we're dropping a lot more this year. Maybe I just didn't notice it, but we're like Pedigo will walk up. He's coming. Nope. Case and Kelly comes, they just alternate. Then he drops back. He hole drops in the middle, gets his hands up, like a center in basketball. And sure enough, he gets a tip, on fourth down. We get the ball back. So it seems like they're trying to change it up a little more. It's not the typical, we're just going to bring our outside backers, and just so they know where it's coming from. It's a lot more exotic, I guess you call it.
And I think that comes too where when offensives scheme us up, they know that in our 3-4, there's going to be some holes for those short slants, especially over the middle. So when we drop out that outside linebacker back into coverage or fake, that's an unaccounted person that they just don't take account for. So I think that's where we can get those plays where tip balls, interceptions by our outside backers.
Yeah, but looking at Brungard though, he's 600 yards rushing, averaging 173 passing. So he is their offense. I just keep going back to him. Their receivers are not nearly as good. I think it was Oliver. Was that kid's name? Jeez, he was good. He was in the NFL for a while at a camp, but a couple of years ago, they had some really good receivers. This year, I'm not as worried about the downfield threat at all. Max Tomczak's their guy, receiver, kind of a Bo Belquist look to him, 6 foot 190, not nearly as good as Bo, but he's produced. It's 560 yards, couple touchdowns. So he's a guy, he can get you open, carve you up a little bit downfield, but yeah, it's the run game. This if UND can control things up front, slow them down, get them into passing downs, and just like last week, I keep going back to last week. I said we need to get a lead and take Ty Edwards out of the game last week. That 6'4", 230 running back they got, because he's kind of worthless then. Sure enough, we get a lead. They rush for 36 yards. It's just they can't do anything. This same thing this week. Our offense can jump on them, or maybe if special teams produces something again, like last time we were in Youngstown, all of a sudden we're up 17-7 or something like that. Now, well, that cool running game they got that's, giving people issues kind of has to go away, doesn't it? Now they have to throw, and they don't want to throw. I mean, Brungar's he's not a downfield thrower. It's not his deal, but he can run, So I think that's another thing. It's if Isaac Frichte can get something going, early, get a lead, get some motivation for the team. You're playing a 2-6 team. Okay. You got to treat them like a 2-6 team. Try to hammer them down and just, don't respect anything they can't do.
Keep your foot on the gas too.
Yeah, that's what I hate. I hate when teams treat everyone the same, give them all their same respect. No, you don't, because they're not very good. Okay, so treat them like they're 2-6.
Like our first drive.
Hammer them. Yeah, just
went for it on fourth down, right?
Go for it
here
on
we
fourth
go.
down against these guys because they're not very good. Okay, type of thing, and just play accordingly, and they will sense that geez, these guys have no respect for it, and they'll start to get a little worried once it works. 4th and 2 at midfield. Let's just go for it. Let's take it.
And I'd like to see that from our team, where we just go there, expect to win the football game. Expect that by the end of this game, we are going to win this game. We will have more points than you. And that's the confidence on the road that I want to see in this game.
You win this one, you get to 6-2. Okay. Then you got to go to Indiana State. You're back on the road, another long one, but they're not very good. We've had trouble with them in the past, but we didn't have trouble down there a couple of years ago. We actually played pretty well. I remember I think I was out deer hunting. I was listening to it on the radio. It was just a beat down.
You were watching people shoot deer, right?
Yeah, it was.
I shoot more specific.
I shoot a lot. I don't hit anything.
But you weren't shooting deer.
Nobody shoots more than I do. Okay, when it comes to pheasants and deer, nobody shoots more than I do.
He was too busy on Twitter.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. There's no reception by Harvey.
His boy is yelling at him, "Dad, stay off your phone, Dad."
Yeah. Well, here's the worst thing coming up though. Deer opener. UND's home this year, and it's South Dakota State.
Yeah.
Bad. I don't know how that happened. We gotta. Ugh. So I'm going to be in
second weekend in South Dakota, the two biggest home games of the year, right into two big weekends.
Right, I'll be at that one. I'll be at South Dakota for sure. But yeah, South Dakota State. Geez, I'm gonna have to listen on the.
Too bad we didn't work in insurance and we could go hunting during the week, right?
That's right.
And have our weekends free for college football.
Oh, it opens Friday at noon, but there is there's a very slight. Anyone who's hunted with me is laughing at it. There's a very slight chance I hit a deer before the game on Saturday. Very slight.
Now with a gun or your car?
You're right. Well, I'd have a better chance with the car, put it that way. But
let's get to the predictions, huh? Looking at it, a little recipe from last week. I'm just going to go 35-14 UND.
Oof.
Yeah. I think we'll 35-7 throughout, and they'll get a late touchdown.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't know. Matt, I'm going to let you go first. I've been hemming and hawing about this one. I've written down numbers and then crossed them out. You go ahead.
I want the blowout. I really do. I want the blowout. I just don't think we're going to get a blowout. Now, with that being said, I think we're going to win the game handedly. I think we're going to look like the better football team. But, I think it'll be even Stevens until halftime. I think we're going to match us in points. Probably at halftime score will be like a 21-14 us at halftime, and then it'll end up being like 28-14 at the end of the game. I don't see a lot of field goals. I think it's just going to be methodical football with touchdowns, and 28-14 I think is what we're going to see.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
I just don't know what forecast. Have you looked at That's the thing with domes. We don't really have to worry about the weather. Yeah, we haven't had to worry about weather since week 1.
Yeah,
it's Eastern Ohio, so it's going to be what?
Saturday,
cloudy?
60 degrees, 60, 10 miles an hour. So nothing. Yeah, it doesn't look like much. So it should be fine. I just don't know what we're going to get out of Youngstown. I mean, I know we're sky high. we're all our hopes and dreams are ahead of us. There's a shot. They're done. They can't make the playoffs. They're out 2-6. I don't know what you're going to get because every once in a while you just get them laying down, especially after last week where they had a shot at winning that game against the number 4 team in the country.
Are they demoralized in the season yet? Or
that's what I mean. You just don't know,
Or do we have we have a chance to spoil their season, so we're going to put everything on the line. And
it's a factor, but once again, it would go back to us jumping on them early and letting them know, hey, we're just going to take control of this thing. It's how it's going to go today. So I wrote down 30-24. I think it's going to be a little tight. We're going to give up something. They'll have something for us. They'll hit. We give up last week. We only gave up one, but that's on the one long touchdown. If we give up another one this week, I don't know. On the road, it's always a little tighter. I'm going to go 30-24. Couple, what would that be? 3 Elrick's field goals outdoors. And how about the fake punt last week? Yeah. I didn't even mention it. I met the biggest fake punt guy in the world right here. I love fake punt. I want 5 a year.
We wanted one all last season, didn't we? Like, was it last season?
With Peterson.
Yeah.
He was the fastest punter in the country. We didn't run one. He passed it. I think he passed it to Garrett Mogg the one time. I don't know if he ran at Weber. He ran one at Weber in the playoff game or something. I think he ran around the end, but I wanted 5 a year. The kid ran 11 flat 100 in high school. I'm like, let's just catch, run around the end.
Yeah.
It's foot race to the sticks, right? But anyway, that was a nice one. Little reverse flip to Kupfer, Bismarck guy, and he lowered his shoulder to get the first down. So anyway, maybe we'll see some of that. But no, Elrick's, we're going to see some Elrick's field goals. 30-24 UND wins.
Stambaugh Stadium, Youngstown, Ohio, 5 o'clock kickoff. UND travels down there for a road game. Should be a fun one. We'll be back next week to review the game and preview Indiana State. Should we wear our Larry Bird jerseys next week? He got one? I was a Showtime fan. I didn't care for Boston. So
No, I don't got it.
Well, thanks again to Rumor Sports Bar, Grill, and Casino, Development Homes, Inc., Kelly Howe Agency, Nodak Insurance, The Toasted Frog, Fine Dining in downtown Grand Forks and Fargo, the 1883 Collective, the NIL arm for UND Athletics. Again, thanks to John HOLTH for joining us here today. The Interstate Industrial, Steam Cleaning and Painting in the Bakken Oil Fields. Thanks to Marty, Shaide, and American Solutions for Business, Tank McNamara. That'll do it. We'll see you next week, and enjoy the game on Saturday.